welcome to our first lockdown talk, a series of 4 talks that we've got planned over this next few weeks. I think just looking at the list of those of you that have joined us, most of you currently have got children on the programme at the moment. And obviously, I think this is a really pertinent talk because with this period of lockdown, you've probably had time to assess where you want to go with your tennis. And those of you who've got children, you're thinking of your children's futures as well. So as a tennis parent myself, I can totally sympathise with some of the feelings that you've probably gone through over this period. And if you're anything like me, when your son or daughter has been playing, you've probably at some point wondered, why are we doing this? And where's this all going to lead to? And I think this is why we've kind of look to bring on board this presentation tonight, and hopefully it's going to answer a few of those questions. So we're really lucky tonight to have got the services of Sarah Borwell, and she's joined us as our guest speaker tonight, who's going to lead the presentation. So first and foremost, I thank Sarah for joining us. It's great to have us with you, have you with us at THONGSBRIDGE. Sarah's obviously got great experience as a tennis professional, and more recently she's been involved with helping young tennis players continue their journey as they reach that post-16 sort of age group. So without further ado, really, I'm going to hand over to Sarah, and hopefully she'll give us an insight into what the future holds. So welcome, Sarah.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. And I'm getting a bit better, but if I have a coughing fit halfway through, I don't have COVID. I will make it through, but my 11-month-old was finally allowed out of his bubble and he went to daycare last week. And of course, within the first day, he picked up a virus and he gave it to me. So I am on the Lemsip and I'm battling through, but I should be all right. But thank you for coming. And I've done a lot of Zooms over this period, and I've been presenting about the 4 pathways for about 15 years now. Originally, I'm from Middlesbrough. I played at Tennis World. That's where I grew up at. It's pretty much my second home. And I wasn't a top junior. I didn't travel the world playing ITFs. I was at full-time school, did 10 GCSEs, 3 A-levels. I didn't particularly enjoy competing, which probably sounds a bit strange considering I'm still playing at 41, but I found it incredibly stressful as a junior. And it was actually the tennis club which kept me playing, with my friendships that I had there and the social kind of life that I had there. That was my little group. And that's the reason why I actually stayed in tennis, because I found tournament play incredibly anxiety ridden, and I would be nervous for weeks before a tournament. So if you're a junior and you're kind of struggling and you get nervous and you think, oh gosh, I've got to win this match, if you continue on and find the right pathway for you, it'll start being enjoyable when you get older and you're confident and mature. So that's the big thing to take from this, that as long as you're aware of all the different pathways and you find the right one for you, then you can't go wrong. And luckily, back in 1998, I found the right pathway for myself, which was American University. Having not been talent ID'd and not being funded by the LTA, kind of left to my own devices, which was beneficial for me. I went to American University, grew into my game, grew in confidence, and ended up going pro in 2002. And I made #1 in Great Britain for doubles, 65 in the world. I played every Grand Slam, played Wimbledon 9 times, represented Great Britain at Fed Cup. And my final hurrah in tennis was winning a bronze medal at the Commonwealth Games. And that's all from kind of having a normal junior tennis life where didn't play 20 hours a week, just kind of did what I could and enjoyed the social aspect of it. So from what you can take from this is anything is possible. And if you have dreams of going pro, then keep them, but make sure you find the right pathway for your development. Because if you choose incorrectly when you're young, then it can make that dream a little bit harder. So the pathways, the big thing about pathways is being aware of what's available to you. So for me, American University was the right pathway for me. It allowed me to gain confidence, I gained understanding in my game, and then I could go pro. The LTA put out a great tweet not long ago where it just showed all three pathways available to you when you're deciding what you want to do as a junior. So you got Neil Skupski, who partnered Jamie Murray, top 50 in the world. He's now playing with his brother now, Ken Skupski. They both graduated from American University, Louisiana State University. You've got Luke Bainbridge, who at 18 decided and sat down with his family and his coaches. Am I ready to go pro at 18? Yep, I think I am. Financially, we're ready. Maturity, physically, my game's where it needs to be. He obviously made the right decision as he's top 50 in the world. And then you've got Johnny, who chose the British University route at Stirling University. So, and he's obviously again doing incredibly well. So you've got three viable pathways to head out onto the Pro Tour, and you've got to kind of be aware and have all the information for all of them. And then when it comes time to deciding, you can decide, okay, British University is actually the right pathway for me, or actually I prefer to go to America in order to maybe reach my dream of going pro. So anything you hear tonight is attainable if you work hard, you continue with your tennis, and you stay in school. They're kind of they're two main things. Now, if you have no desire to go to university whatsoever, but you are obsessed with tennis, you're incredibly passionate, you're thinking you want to be a coach, or you run your own club, or maybe be part of a big academy, then the Cliff Drysdale tennis management program that we have is really important to be part of. It's a year course. You'll come out to America. We'll get you a work visa. You'll be based at one of their clubs. So Cliff Drysdale is kind of the same era as Sue Barker. He was a really good tennis player. He's now a big presenter for ESPN in America, but he has 50 clubs, academies, resorts. But he also has this program where he wants to teach players how to coach, how to put together their own coaching program, how to do the social media aspect of things, how to do the finances, how to do the accounts, directing. It's going to teach you everything in that year. And if they think you've done a good job and you're successful and they could see you working for them long term, they'll then put you into one of their clubs, whether it's one of the resorts down in Key Biscayne, Florida, or one of the big academies in Texas. They'll make that decision, but it's a great vehicle to get you into the tennis industry, and it looks great on your CV. So that's for players who really don't particularly want to do a degree. Yes, you love tennis, but competing every weekend is not for you, but you really want to be a coach or be in that side of the business. Now, the first pathway for the team aspect is a British University route. And all of my players who know they want to go to America, they still have to look at this pathway. It's really important that you do both at the same time, just because you never know what's going to happen in life. This year with the pandemic, we had so many American university teams cut. That affected a lot of my players quite late on in the process, where in July their team just got cut and they were due to fly in August. So they, thankfully, we'd gone through the British University application so they could go to their backup, which was Loughborough. So they're at a British university now. So you're always going to look at both pathways, even if America is kind of your number one choice. Now, a British university, you're going to be there usually for 3 years. Most degrees are 3 years. You tend to have to decide your degree as early as 16 when you're deciding your A levels, which can be quite stressful and daunting, because I was 20 and I still didn't really know what my degree was going to be. So this is the big thing with a British university, where you have to kind of know what you want quite early on. You're allowed to use a student loan, which is one real positive. but it's going to cost you about $20,000 a year. So there's the tuition, and then you got the room and board, and then you've got the tennis on top of that. So the fact that you don't have to worry about that until you graduate is great, but it's quite a hefty cost of $20,000. There's 99 British universities. We pretty much know which are the best in the world because we're always aware of Cambridge, Oxford, Exeter, Durham, Bath, Loughborough. But there's 28 British universities ranked in the top 200, which is great. And it just leaves a lot of options for very, very academic students who perhaps haven't played that much tennis. So British University is a great route for those who love being part of a team, but you've not played on a regular basis, like every weekend going to play tournaments. Of course, I've got some of the top British players who have chosen a British university over an American one. They felt it suited them better. They didn't want to go away from home. But I still feel it's a better option if academically you're off the charts, you're a straight A student, but your tennis ranking, rating are quite low, and you don't have enough money to kind of pay for the American university. So a British university route is great, knowing that you know where you're going, you know the academics are going to be very good. Each university has about 4 teams. So if you don't make the top 2, you know you have the opportunity to maybe play on the 3rd or 4th team. So there's lots of variety. There's a lot of options at British University, and it's getting better and better every year, which is great. Now, the big thing which I speak to all people before they join Tennis Smart is just making sure they're aware of what they're kind of getting themselves into. When we access a British university and we apply, the big thing is that we have to get the grades. So we must get the A-level grades or the BTEC grades in order to be admitted. You then would try out for the team. So it's all heavily based on your academic ability. Now in America, it's the opposite. You're first going to be recruited based on your athletic ability, and then they're going to see if you can get you through admissions, which probably doesn't seem right because you go into an academic institution and surely they want the best students. But in America, the athletic side of things is big business and they want to be incredibly successful. So much so that I actually got admitted to Rice University, which is Oxford, Cambridge level in academics. And at GCSEs, I was a BC student at best. So if I tried to register just as a student, they would have deleted my application immediately. I just simply wasn't good enough for the school. But because I was good at tennis, they found a way to get me in. Now, if you're the other way, where you're very academic, if you stayed in the UK, you'd look at a Russell Group level university, so like Durham or Exeter or Nottingham. But academics are everything to you and you've not had a chance to really compete. So your UTR, which is what we tend to use out here, is a lot lower than what we require. Then there's going to be a few options we can have, but it's then going to come down to financials. Are you willing to have some form of budget in order to come to America? Because the last thing I want is someone who is extremely academic. You've worked incredibly hard to get good grades, and then you come out here and you go to a substandard academic institution. What you tend to find here is the better the tennis, the better the academics. So we also have to make sure that if you are wanting to come over here, you can afford it if you don't get a full scholarship. Okay, so American University, we know that you are recruited based on your tennis level, and then they bring you through admissions. Hopefully you have scores which are somewhat feasible. In America, the degree is 4 years long, and this is because the first year is for those players who perhaps don't know what degree they want to do. And if in England, you obviously have to decide quite soon. They don't want that to happen out here. So if you turn up at 18 and you kind of know the area you want to do, but you're not sure, you can choose a lot of different course subjects that first year. So you can do a political science, a psychology, a marketing, or a management class. Something which is going to kind of make you think, actually, I really like psychology. That's the way I'm going to go. So you get 4 years of tennis and you get 4 years to do your degree. Now, a big question I get asked is, are the academics as good in America as they are in the UK? Will my degree be recognised? Thankfully, because we're in such a global world right now, most people who you will work for, if you went back to the UK, are either American or they've been to an American university. So they're always going to be aware of kind of what you've achieved. The fact that we have 60 ranked universities in the top 200 shows that the level is high anyway, but it might not be a name university like a UCLA or a Stanford, but they're still going to be aware of the degree that you've done. Also, you'll find that in America, you have far more opportunity to do internships and networking. So usually you've built your CV up and the experience a bit more than you would at a British university. And the fact that you're an athlete is pretty key. So I've had a lot of players where they've actually gone for jobs in the UK, and a lot of people have gone, yeah, you tick every box for us, but tell us about your tennis. Like, what was it like at Oklahoma? Like being on part of a team, you were really successful. That's what they say all of these employers tend to focus on, is the tennis, because they know that you've probably got a very good work ethic, good time management skills. You're probably incredibly competitive and determined, which when you put it into any kind of area of work, there's some really good qualities to have. So they really want to push these athletes forward because they think they're going to be good in a very kind of competitive work environment. So being a student athlete is important. You're coming out with a degree, but if you work quickly and maybe you get credit for your A levels or your BTEC, you might be able to do a master's that 4th year. So let's say you've gone to America for 4 years, you got a degree, a master's degree, you're a student athlete, you've done internships each June before you went home for the summer. You're kind of a dream employee for someone to hire. So this is why I really like America, is that you can just add so many different things to it, and the networking potential is huge. There's 4,000 plus universities out here. So for you to kind of think, right, where do I want to go? I need to get the right coach. I need to make the team. I've got to be able to win matches on this schedule. Does it have my degree? Is it academic enough? It's very hard for you to pinpoint the right university for you. And that's something that you need to look at all the different variables of what's important to you. Everyone gets obsessed with, I must go to Division 1. That's where I have to be. Even though it's not like the Premier League in football where you get relegated or you get promoted, a university will choose what division they want to be in. So some of the very worst universities for tennis and academics are in Division 1, and some of the very best in the world for academics and tennis are in Division 3. If you focus on the variables which are most important to you, coaching style, how will they communicate to me? Will they develop me? Can I make the team? Can I win on that schedule? Can I afford it? Is it going to be challenging enough academically, or is it going to be easy enough so I can concentrate on my tennis? All of these variables is what you have to focus on rather than the ranking, the prestige, or the name of the university. The big problem with America, and I think if we didn't have this problem, we'd probably see triple the amount of players coming out here, is the fact that you can't use a student loan. So when you get to 18, well, when you get to 17, 16, this is when we start thinking about America. And that's when we start realizing that, oh, we're going to have a budget probably. And sometimes if I'm saying you need $15,000, it can be a bit of a shock if you've not been saving for that. Other countries like Sweden, they're allowed to use their student loan out here, which is great. But for us, it is going to come out of your bank account. And although it's going to be in installments, it's still probably amount of money that you didn't envisage having to pay. So that's probably the one downside. Thousands and thousands of tennis players that you're competing with to find a spot, and loads of different nationalities. So the last count, there was 100 different countries in college tennis. So you're competing against the world really for a roster spot. Now, the big thing when being recruited is we haven't used the LTA rating or rankings for years now, and we've used the UTR. The good thing that the LTA did was we started sending in results before any other federation. So we've actually have the database is huge for results, and it means everyone has a UTR and they're all relatively accurate. If you don't know what a UTR is, if you go to myutr.com, you can type in your name and it will give you your UTR. It's also quite cool because you can actually put in the teams. Let's say I'm at Maryland, you can put in University of Maryland and it'll show the entire team and their UTRs. So instead of kind of guessing before of what level would be good for you, or are you reaching too high for a UCLA or a Stanford, you can actually see the team and say, okay, I'm a 9.2 UTR, but their number 6 is a 10. I'm going to have to really improve, or maybe I should look for the level lower. So that's kind of the big thing now with UTR, is just making it more like accessible to actually see and more transparent of this is what you have to work towards. Stanford might be out of reach, but I can go to Maryland and that looks really great there. Now, because there's not as many girls playing tennis, there's a bigger dropout rate and there's more girls teams than there are boys. There are opportunities for girls out here are through the roof. And if you can get to an 8.5 UTR, which is about a 3.1 LTA rating, they're not very comparable now, but let's say 3.1, then you're looking to get a full scholarship, which I think the day my parents found out I was getting a full scholarship after spending thousands and thousands of pounds on my tennis was probably one of the best days ever. So when you're on a full scholarship, you, as a parent, you're not worrying about anything. I'm going to get tuition, books, food, housing, clothing, tennis equipment, so rackets, strings, grips, a fitness trainer, 2 tennis coaches, a psychologist, a nutritionist, a physiotherapist, academic advisors, health insurance, travel inside America. You're going to stay in hotels when you're flying off to California or Florida. Every single thing is going to be paid for. So as a parent, all you have to think about is the flights there, and then the travel insurance, which now covers COVID. So the premiums have gone up, but it's still about £320 a year. So for girls, if you can work hard and you can compete on a fairly regular basis, then you can come out of university having the time of your life, but with no debt, which nowadays is, that's kind of something that you really want to, it's going to help you get onto the next ladder and not have 60 grand of debt. So for girls, there's lots of opportunities out here. You just got to keep playing. You've got to kind of keep enjoying the competitive side of things, play all your team events, and you can make it out here and not have any worries about money. If you don't play a lot, but you love team tennis, you'd love to come to America, but your UTR is below an 8.5, 8, then you're looking at a partial scholarship. And this means that a lot of the teams which are below. So there's 260 teams ranked in Division 1. Those that are ranked 180 to 260 tend not to be fully funded. And that's the same for Division 2. So instead of having 8 full scholarships for 8 players, there'll be 4.5 athletic scholarships for 8 players. So if you're not quite the level in 8.5, you can then go in on a partial scholarship where they're going to give you athletic scholarship money based on where you are on the team. And then they're going to give you academic scholarship money based on your GCSEs and your entrance exam score. So I've had players who are 7.8 UTI who are on full scholarships because they're very good academically and they're going to play number 2 on the team. So there's still possibilities out here, and that's why being a really good student helps enormously. Now, it's like anything in life, the better you are, the better the product. So what you'll find that if you can move your UTR up higher into the 10s, you're going to be hearing some of the best universities in the world, one of them being Florida State University, where if you have to travel further than 5 hours to an event, they're going to bring out the Florida State bus, which has got Wi-Fi, kitchen, beds, a lounge on with a big TV, and you'll travel in style. So as a university athlete, you can get to travel around like a superstar, getting all of the kind of freebies of 3 rackets a year, 8 pairs of tennis shoes, 8 pairs of running shoes. They're sponsored by Nike. I'm at Maryland. We're sponsored by Under Armour. Loads of clothes, everything for free and large quantities of it. So that's if you're in the 10 UTR or higher. Now, the reason we were so nervous about COVID and whether American football would be able to happen is because the amount of money that the football actually generates. So if Florida State football team hadn't been able to play this last fall, the university would have lost $70 million. And that $70 million is used to pretty much pay for all the other sports. So the Olympic sports, the non-revenue sports. So you can imagine how nervous, well, I was, because my job is to place people. All of my friends who are college coaches were nervous because we know that without football, college athletics doesn't really exist. The team I support is University of Alabama, and it's in Tuscaloosa, a small college town in Alabama. The entire town is for the university. So if you're an athlete at Alabama, you're well known. You're kind of a superstar. Their football team is one of the best in the country. It wins nationals all the time. They have Olympians on the gymnastics team where you go and watch it. It's like literally being at the Olympics. They're incredible. But if football hadn't have taken place in that town, the town was due to lose $2 billion in revenue. So that you can imagine thinking of those numbers, $2 billion for a town if the university football team doesn't play, it's kind of like mind blowing. But that's the kind of money that's generated in college sports. It's big, big business. It's on the TV literally every single day. You had Obama, when he was president, doing the bracket for the March Madness basketball. It's just completely different world out here. And that's the kind of money that's flowing through it. So all of those mornings where maybe you do a squad before school and it's 6 a.m. and it's dark and you just think, oh, I can't be bothered today. Think about what's possible when you come out here. The better you get, the better the product you're going to receive. Now, because we have Title IX in America, where there has to be equality between men and women, the men's football team, as you know, is big business. It's the most important sport in college athletics. The men's team give 100 full scholarships every single year, which impacts men's tennis, men's golf, and men's soccer. So there has to be the same amount of scholarships for the women as there are the men, which means women's tennis, a lot of teams have 8 full scholarships until you go down the rankings. For the men, majority of them have 4.5 or fewer scholarships. So Division 1 generally have 4.5 scholarships to divide between 8 to 10 players. So if you don't have a huge budget, but you're going to be the superstar on the team at 1 and you're pretty academic, you could get a full scholarship. It's not that common for boys to get full rides, but if you meet the criteria of good tennis player, good student, then it is feasible. So I have Toby Samuel, who's at South Carolina, where Paul Jubb just finished. He's on a full scholarship because he was a straight A student and he was top 50 in the world ITF. If you want to go to Division 1 and you want a good Division 1 program, you don't want to just go to any program in Division 1, but you want a good one, I would need your UTR to be about 11.7. If you hit that and you have good grades, then we can probably get you some really good scholarship offers. And the way it works is a coach will get your CV and he'll be like, excellent, Toby, he's going to play number 3 for us on the team. I can give him 10,000 athletic scholarship. That's great. He's a really good student. I'm going to give him 20,000 academic scholarship. So there's a $30,000 scholarship from the coach. And the school might cost $45,000 a year. So as a family, you have to pay $15,000. But that $15,000, you get everything I just said the girls get for the full ride. So tuition, books, food, housing, clothing, coaches, travel, health insurance. That's for $15,000. Now, if you think a British university is going to cost 20,000 and you don't get half as much stuff, 15,000, your money actually goes a long, long way. But you can't use a student loan, so it can be a bit of a shock to the system initially. As you move up the team each year and do better, you're going to get more athletic money each year. So it's a great carrot for the boys and for those girls who are on partial scholarships, where let's say you start number 6, then you go to number 3, and then finally you're at number 1. You could work your way up to the point where you're on a full ride. I've had that happen to a few guys where they've spent 17,000 the first 2 years, then it's dropped to 10, and then the final year they're doing exceptionally well and they're on a full scholarship. So it can become cheaper, and if you continue to work hard and win matches, it will become cheaper. If you cannot reach an 11.7, or you simply don't have the budget to get into a Division 1, then you're looking at a Division 2 or a Division 3 university. Again, it doesn't mean it's not a lesser place. It's not like being relegated from the Premier League into the Championship. The Division 2 and Division 3 have some incredible setups, just as D1 do. But it just allows you the opportunity to maybe find a place which is more affordable because you might play higher on the team. Find a place with a coach that you like. Be a key player. Everyone always thinks, oh, but I want to be 5'6" and work my way up and be around people who are better than me. When in reality, you don't want that at all. When you get here, if you're 5 and 6, it's so stressful. The anxiety is so high because you know that each weekend, if you lose, they might put someone else in ahead of you and just keep switching you. It's not a nice place to be. And because you're so competitive, when you get here, you're actually desperate to be playing higher. You want to play the best players week in, week out. You want to get ranked. You want to go to nationals. So starting higher on the team not only financially makes more sense, but developmentally it's actually better as well. Because some of you might have young children who are 13 years old and you want to have a set amount where you can think, okay, we'll work towards that. If I have anyone who can afford $15,000, regardless of your academic or tennis ability, I can place you. So $15,000 is a good amount to have in your mind, knowing that the better you are tennis, the better you are with your GCSEs, the cheaper it might become. But I can place anyone if you have a $15,000 budget. Now, if you're an 11 UTR and a grade 5, 6 student, and you say to me, look, I've only got $10,000, can I do it? I would say, look, you can, but the options aren't going to be amazing. Let's try and move that UTR up higher. I'll set you then some goals. But ideally, 15,000 is a good amount to have, knowing that as we talk to different coaches and we receive different academic offers with athletics added on, you might pay 2,000 or you might pay 7,000. But that's a good kind of amount just to have in your mind of what might have to happen in 4 years' time when you end up coming out here. So the higher you on the team, the more athletic money you get. Some places cost $25,000 a year. Some cost $70,000 a year. Some are in very wealthy areas like Malibu, California, and some are in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, where it's very affordable to live. So all of these different variables we'll take into account when we know what your budget is. And if your budget is low, then I'll set you goals of what I need you to achieve. The redhead in the middle is Chris Edge, originally from Cumbria, and he went to Murchison School up in Edinburgh. He's at Middle Tennessee, and if the team can't get on a commercial flight, which is direct, they will bring out the university private jet and they will put the tennis team onto the private jet, which again is mind-blowing because you think, well, he's just a student at university and they're flying around on a private jet. But that's the kind of glamour and big business you're kind of dealing with when you come out to America. So again, the harder you work in school, the better your GCSEs, the more doors it's going to open for your tennis. The more you compete on a regular basis, the more opportunities you're going to have, which are affordable. So it's kind of in your hands, really. If you just work hard, keep competing, enjoy your tennis, that's the main thing. Then, like Chris, you could be flying around on a private jet. Okay, so this screen is actually the most important part of the whole presentation because this is the bit which is either going to give us a lot of headaches or it's going to just be a quick tick by the NCAA. The NCAA is the governing body which we're going to have to apply to. So it's like the clearinghouse. And the big thing for them is they want everyone to follow academic rules, and they're very keen on having the right academic timeline and having the right subjects. They try very hard to kind of make it as complicated as they can, but this is kind of years of me studying the rules and talking to the NCAA. This is in the most basic form. When you're in year 9 at school, they're going to give you 3 years to complete 5 GCSEs. So I'm sure most of you are doing more than 5, but I just need 5 if we want you to be eligible in America. They've got to be in the core subjects of maths, English, science, and then a social science, plus one more. So the one more could be the dual science that you're taking, or it could be an English language, or it could be a foreign language, could be another social science. A social science is what we class as a humanities, and they don't recognize RE as a social science, which can be a problem because it's a humanities that we actually choose. They would rather you do history, geography, sociology, psychology, modern studies. So as long as you got those 5 core subjects, then you're going to tick the box Ideally, we want grades 5 or higher. If you throw in a few 4s, it's not the end of the world, but it will bring down the academic scholarship if we're kind of looking at partial. When you're in year 9 and year 10, the NCAA are going to ask for those reports. So it's good to start kind of maintaining the documentation for when they need it when you're 16, 17. They're then going to ask for the GCSE certificates to be sent by your school. And then once you've done that, they're then going to check that you're doing A levels or the BTEC. If you come to America, I only need 2 A levels done by you. But because I'm all about options and maintaining all of the different pathways and limiting your anxiety and stress, we need 3 A levels for a British university. So it makes a lot more sense to do 3. If you get to year 13 and you know 100% I'm going to go to America, I know I can get a really good offer, that's where I'm going, you can always drop down to 2 A levels if you want to, but it's good to at least start with 3 and then we can kind of assess as we go. If you've missed a course subject in those GCSEs, usually the social science, you can always pick it up in the A levels. A lot of people seem to do psychology A level, which is a social science course subject. So that would be kind of the ticking the box for that. If you don't want to do A levels, and I wish in my day the BTEC had been around, it would have been a much better course for me to take academically. If you want to do the BTEC, make sure it's the extended level 3 BTEC diploma. It's equivalent to 3 A levels and it's 180 credits and it's a 2-year course. I know some schools are doing where you do 1 A level and then the BTEC level 3 certificate and putting them together, but NCAA don't recognize that. They don't like that. So you must make sure it's the BTEC level 3 diploma and not the BTEC, which is equivalent to 2 A levels. It would make sense in our mind that if you only need 2 A levels to go to America, why wouldn't the BTEC, which is equivalent to 2 A levels, be accepted? But it's not. So just make sure you're doing the extended and it's equivalent to 3 A levels and you can't go wrong. So once you've done all of those and you've ticked those boxes, they're going to be happy that you're academically eligible. And then they're going to move you on to the next stage, which is amateurism. The reason they brought this in is because back in my day, they'd have a lot of professional tennis players who would go pro at 18. They'd realize at 20 it's not glamorous and you don't actually make any money. And those players would come back into the system, which meant that players who actually did it right and went to school lost out. So they're very particular with who they let in. Now, one good rule change they've done is prize money. You can now take it without having to show receipts. In my day, if I took prize money, it was only allowed to be up to my expenses, which is a nightmare because then you had to then maintain receipts and they would actually ask for the receipts, which, well, you had enough on your plate to actually keep receipts from every tournament. So now they're not even going to look, which is great, as long as you're not making more than $10,000, which one of my players is Arthur Ferry, who's top 10 in the world, and he's not made over 10,000. So it's not going to be a worry for anyone. So if you win a British tour, if you win a summer tournament, take the money. It's important to cover those expenses. And if you got stuff left over, then go and buy another racket or shoes or something. If you sign a contract with a racket or clothing company like Babolat or Head, that's okay. If you get discounted rates, that's okay. The problem becomes is when you get money on top, that's when they don't like it. So as long as you're not being giving a check for $30,000 on top of getting free clothing, free rackets, then you're not going to have any issues. The big thing, and this has affected two of my players in the past, is signing with an agent. The player is actually from Yorkshire, and they signed the contract when they were 13, thinking, like anyone at 13, wow, oh my gosh, IMG are really excited about me. It's going to be a very difficult decision. But by 18, we knew actually university makes more sense. This is one loophole we can't get around. So if you sign with an agent, even if you're really, really young, there's nothing we can do. It rules out American university. So that's one thing you should definitely not do. If you play for a team, maybe you go off to France or play German Bundesliga, or you play NCL and you get paid. This again is quite a big no-no. That will class you as a professional athlete. So be mindful of kind of what's going on social media and what you say, and try to be discreet with team aspects of things where you're actually getting paid. The big thing probably for all of us is just the timeline of when we go. If you graduate from A levels in June and you don't go in that August to America, you have until the January to get yourself out there to a Division 1. If you don't go for that entire year and you go the following August, it will leave you ineligible for Division 1, and you can go to Division 2 or Division 3. So that's probably the biggest thing to remember, is just the timeline. Once those A levels are over, got to try and get yourself out there. August is the best time to go. All right, so why are so many players wanting to come to America? What's it like? How is it different to what you kind of see at a British university? Everything seems to be on a grander scale here, with more tournaments, more practice, a lot more travel. And you'll find the transition from when you first leave home to here is incredibly difficult, because although you're coming to an English-speaking country, it's a very different culture, and it's just completely different to what you're kind of used to. You're going to have a coach who, we're normally quite friendly with our coaches in the UK, where you have like a friendship with them. But over here, there's a very clear line between coach and player. And that can be a bit difficult initially when you're used to kind of having a bit of banter with your coach. So that's the first thing which is different. You're also going to be on a team with loads of... Sorry. I thought today I was feeling better. You're going to be on a team with loads of different nationalities. Again, that can be a bit of a culture shock. You're also going to want to kind of show the team and the coach how good you are. So you're going to be incredibly nervous. So the first time you get there in August, it's called the fall semester. And this is where you're going to kind of get used to your new surroundings, the new way of training, of being tested, the academic side, and trying to impress the coach. So you need time to settle in. When I first got there in August, it was in Texas in the summer, 100% humidity and 100 degrees. And coming from Middlesbrough, that was a big shock. And it was something that it took me a long while to kind of get used to. Once I did, then I was kind of ready to go for it. But that first few months where you're trying to get fitter, you're getting used to the team, you're getting used to having to do exams every 6 weeks, which we don't do in the UK, was incredibly overwhelming. It's overwhelming for many players who come out here. So if you can get out in August, that's kind of a key time for you to do that. You will do your bulk of your strength and endurance training in the fall, because when the spring starts, it's a bit like the professional tour. You don't have time to do blocks of training. It's a lot of just upkeep and maintenance, and you hope that you've done enough in the fall. So there'll be a lot of track workouts, a lot of running stadiums, a lot of, well, loads of hitting high intensity ball. Like, they want you to like do a lot of drilling in the fall. You'll only really compete in 3 tournaments. And although you travel with your team and you have the coach on court with you and you're training and you're off in California playing, if you lose that match, it doesn't affect the team's standing. So that's why it's nice to kind of just get there, because those first few times you're incredibly stressed. You're very nervous. You want to show them, look, I can make the team. But it's just like a normal tournament. If you win, you move forward. If you lose, you go back. It's just a great way of getting matches under your belt. So that's kind of the fall season. You just get into grips with everything which is new to you. It might be the first time you've moved away from home and your mum and dad aren't doing everything for you. The spring season is when it all happens, and it's the most exciting time of being an athlete in college. It might start January the 5th, and if you make it to nationals, it could end mid-May. You are traveling or competing every single weekend. So you might leave classes on the Thursday, fly off to Florida, play University of Florida on the Friday. On the Saturday, practice, have some downtime. On the Sunday, play Florida State. And you might get home at midnight, knowing that you have to go to class at 8 a.m. the next morning. So that's one of the big things in America. You have to go to class. You've got to get the grades. It's not like a British university where no one's checking. No one cares if you turn up to class. It's kind of, you're paying for it. It's kind of on you. Here, the coaches will be checking your grades every time you do exams. The academic advisors will be making sure you go to class. If those grades start slipping, then they will pull you out of practice. You might have to sit a match. So it's important that you have to be a very good student and an athlete. They're both just as important. Even if you think the tennis side, that's why I'm there, the coach needs you to be a good student. Now, these dual matches are the best part, and I wish the video, I could figure out how to get it to work. But basically, when you're warming up, there's loud music. They'll play the national anthem, and then they'll put 3 doubles matches on at the same time. Lots of cheering, lots of shouting, come on Memphis, or shouting your name. Whichever team wins 2 doubles matches gets 1 point. So if you're a good doubles player, which most British players are, you're kind of critical for the team, because getting that 1 point means the percentage or chances of the team winning are pretty high. You'll then have 5 minutes after to talk to the coach. He'll give you a pep talk, and then all 6 singles will go on at the same time. The team which gets to 4 points wins. So if you're like Oscar Cutting and it's 3-all and you're playing a top 20 ranked team and you're the last match on and you win, that's one of those memories that you'll have for life. And having people charge onto the court and diving on you and cheering, it's just, you'll see it on social media a lot now, where it'll just continually, they'll post all these videos of people clinching. And even when I watch it now, it kind of gives me goosebumps and like a bit of a tear in my eye, because it's just so incredible, just letting all of that emotion out. And this is what you've got to look forward to, like just being on a team, traveling around America. Your coach is doing everything for you. They're booking the flights, they're booking the hotels. You literally just have to work hard on the tennis court, work hard in the classroom, and have lots of fun. You're allowed 20 hours a week of contact time with the coach. So that means the meetings as well. So you have any meetings, maybe watching video footage of your match, all of this gets logged. 20 hours doesn't sound a lot, but when you add 15 hours of class time and then you're traveling a lot as well, the days soon become very busy. And although they're very structured, you'll soon realize that your time management skills really have to get better, because you might get up at 6 a.m. You have to be in the training room with a physio before and after every practice and before and after every match, whether it's to be taped, to get massaged, to go in the cold bath afterwards. They expect to see you. Even if you feel fine, you have to go in and just check in, because I want to make sure that you're ready to go the following day for practice, so you're ready for the match at the weekend. So there's a lot to kind of get on with. You have the hour or so in the training room just to kind of check in. Then you've got 2 to 2.5 hours of tennis on the court. Then you might rush off to class. You've got 2 hours of class. And then you grab lunch, and then you're back in the gym or in the swimming pool or on the track with your fitness coach. And then you might have class in the evening. So you could have left the house at 6 a.m. and not actually get home till 7. And then you've got homework. So when you first get there, it's like, oh my goodness. I remember speaking to Lissy Barnett, who's now on the pro tour. She went to Northwestern, which is, it's one of the best universities in the world for academics. And I checked in with her. She's like, oh, I just don't know how I'm going to fit everything in. I'm like so overwhelmed by it all. And I said, oh, you'll be all right. You'll get to grips with classes and everything. She's just like, classes haven't even started yet. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do when they begin. And there's so much asked of you that then initially you can just think, I'm not sure I'm going to cope. But the structure and the support team you have around you, you soon start to get to grips with it, and you love it because you know exactly where you're going to be at any point in the day. You've got people around you who are supporting you. As long as you work hard, you're good to go. Fitness, obviously, that's the big thing that we were saying. Right now, if you can kind of make sure that your strength and conditioning, you're understanding all the core stability, the sequencing. So whether it's upper body, making sure all those smaller muscles fire first before the bigger ones. Then when you come out here and they're asking you to do squats or heavy lifting, then your body sequences in the right way. A lot of times players are a bit shocked at kind of how they throw you wrongly. They throw you straight into weights. So if you can really focus on doing core stability stuff now, all the prehab with your shoulders and your hips and your hamstrings, then you'll do great out here. Academics, like we were saying, being a student is just as important. So if you're struggling with a class, maybe like me, you couldn't do college algebra. I still can't. I don't know how I passed that class, but I literally got a tutor every single day so I could get through it, because I knew if I failed it, I was going to be in trouble. The GPA has to stay above a 2.2, and that's about a CD kind of student. C's and D's in America are very bad. A C in GCSE, I think that's actually, you've done well, you've worked hard. It's demanding because you're studying for so long to have one exam. A C in America, it means you're really not trying that hard because exams come so quickly and you're literally just, you're focusing on like 3 chapters in a book to study for, then you sit the test. So as long as you're going to class and you're studying, you'll never fall below a 2.2. But if you do, the coach will pull you from practice. They might pull you from a match. They might say, look, these grades have to improve, or you're going to have to move on and go to another university. I've placed about 750 players over the years, and I've only had one drop below that GPA. So I'm sure no one here will. But if you just study, go to class, ask for help if you're panicking, then you'll be good to go. So I keep talking about the money in athletics over here and kind of what to expect. So when I first came here, I was blown away by the size of the facilities. Now we have Loughborough and Bath, which are kind of like mini American universities, I guess. The facilities are great, but they're not anything like you'll expect out here. I was at the University of Iowa for 7 years, where we had an 80,000 seater stadium for American football on campus. I'm now at the University of Maryland, and we have a 80,000 seater on campus. If you think that's the size of Wembley, and that's on our campus just for the university student athletes, and it's full every weekend. So your roommate could be an American football player who's playing in front of 80,000 people. It's on TV, and you're kind of cheering them on. It's amazing, really. In the fall, the stuff that goes on, and the amount of ESPN are in, all the TV broadcasters come. And because of all of that money generated, it trickles down into the tennis stadiums, the Olympic-sized swimming pools, the tracks, the rec centers, which have climbing walls where you fall off into a swimming pool. There's everything you can imagine, and every university tries to one-up the other. So if someone builds a really state-of-the-art rec center, North Florida have to do the same and make theirs nicer. So the facilities get nicer and nicer every single year. We said about the physios, you have to see a physio every single day. You've got to keep track of all your niggles, how you're feeling, because you are kind of being employed by the university to do well and to compete and represent them on the court and in the classroom. The big thing about America is choosing the right coach. Luckily in the UK, we have coaches actually who all communicate to us in a way that we like. We like positive reinforcement in the UK, where the coach will push us, but they'll also be incredibly positive while they do it. I have players who are from Russia who really do not like that at all and would rather be told, this is not good enough, you need to get better. That works for them. For me, I need to be told on occasion, oh, you're doing great, Sarah, well done. However, that backhand, we need to keep working on it. So you find the right coaching style for you, because your coach is going to be your boss and they are going to rule your life pretty much for 4 years. So even if you're on the beach in Florida and you chose your school based on the location, but you have a tyrant of a college coach, you will not care that you're in Florida on the beach because you will be miserable. Instead, you could be in Montana right now where it's -20, but having one of the most developmental, caring coaches in college tennis and having the time of your life. So find the right coach for you. It's the most important aspect. Nutritionists like Andy Murray, like Novak Djokovic, we all have got to be very careful with what we eat, and they're going to educate you on how to hydrate and what to eat before and after matches, especially if you're in places like Texas and Florida where it's incredibly hot. The biggest part of American university for me, and I think what actually allowed me to be successful on the pro tour and to also own my own company and feel successful with that, were the type of people who I was surrounded by at university. My parents were always kind of instilled in all of us having a good work ethic, trying to be positive, never giving up. And I think that's what's helped me. I was never amazingly talented. I just kind of kept going, basically. And I think once I got to America, I was surrounded by people like that, but on a completely different level. So when you first arrive in your university, you'll be very well aware of whose footsteps you're following in, which big superstar athlete or broadcaster or actor went to your university before you. So when I got to Houston, I was on the treadmill and there was a former University of Houston athlete next to me on the treadmill who had retired from his sport, and it was Carl Lewis. And the younger generation listening right now will be like, well, who's Carl Lewis? He's like the Usain Bolt of the 1990s. He's the greatest Olympian of all time. And I went to his university. So as a 19-year-old, you think, oh my goodness, there's Carl Lewis. And then Leroy Burrell, who was also Olympian, he was there. Fred Couples, Nick Faldo, Dennis Quaid, the actor. So as a 19-year-old, you think, my goodness, this is amazing. You see how hard these people are working. I knew I had to kind of step up You also might find that your roommate is an Olympian and actually preparing for the Japan Olympics this year. If you watch the Olympics this year, especially with soccer, swimming, or track, they will probably say, oh, this is John. He's at the University of Tennessee and he's running the 100-meter Olympic sprint race. Or this is Mary-Eve. She is playing soccer for Canada. That could be your roommate. And so if you're around people who have already kind of made it to being the very best in the world, even if you don't want to go pro, it's going to instill in you a kind of work ethic, determination to actually be the best in whatever you choose. And every university, no matter where you go, will have people like this. And that was the greatest part of American university for me, was being around determined, positive, hardworking people who just kept going and going and going. And that was the difference for me from being an okay college player to someone who was successful on the pro tour. So when you start your placement, what are the coaches looking for in you? Like, how do you start building your profile? The first thing they're going to do is look at the UTR. So if you're with me, I'll send the bio through and the UTR will be at the very top. They'll go to myutr.com, they'll put your name in and they'll say, great, Sarah Borwell, she's a 10.5 UTR. Let's have a look at her results. So the UTR website will show all of your results, and it's quite easy to see if you're trending in the right way. So as a junior, I was trending slowly upwards. I wasn't a top under 12 and then kind of plateaued off. I was constantly improving at a slow rate, but I was going up and getting better. So they're going to look at that. They're then going to look at the trends of the matches. Was I a kind of player who would lose the first set 7-6 and then lose 6-love all the time? I think if you were looking at that, you quickly surmise that, well, Sarah's giving up. Like, she's so close to winning this first set all the time, and then she loses 6-love. Like, she's obviously, I'm not sure we want someone like that on our team who just can't kind of keep going till the end. So we can get a clear idea just from looking through the pattern of your matches. Are they playing consolation tournaments? In my day, everyone did. I was the queen of consolation because I lost first round all the time, especially in nationals. And then mum and dad were like, well, you're playing consolation. And I understand, it's the last thing you want to do. Like, I was nervous. Why did I want to put myself out there as well and play consolation? It's just more nerves, but I always ended up doing well and like reaching the final of the consolation. So always play the consolation. It really looks bad when a player has lost and then hasn't bothered playing. So try and play as much as you can, even if it is stressful and it's nerve-wracking and you've been nervous for weeks, but you will get through that the more you play. And when you get to my age, you won't remember any of those matches that you've lost, really. Odd ones might stand out, but you won't remember them. So just try and compete. They're going to look at your video and they're going to look at your technical foundation. The nice thing is for Brits is that we have great coaches, and technically we're probably some of the best around in the world, where we'll have great forehand, great backhand, we can volley, we can slice. So if you're 13 and your coach says, look, I know you're doing really well, but I really need to change that grip. And you're thinking, no, I want to keep winning. I've got an important tournament coming up. Just change your grip. Because if a coach sees a weird grip and thinks on the hard courts in America that's going to we're going to struggle with that. And they will think, because we can't change anything technically, really, we don't have long enough here, then they might think, we're going to struggle with that. So anything your coach says, let's change. It's a great time to change. Even if it means you lose for a few months, it's going to be a step in the right direction. Movement efficiency. Do we have clear movement patterns to different shots? When I watch your video, is there a clear point construction? Can I know exactly what your game plan is? Or are you literally just like hitting aimlessly and not thinking? Are you athletic? So they're going to look at all of these different things. They're then going to talk to me about you. I'm always honest with the type of player I think I have, because the last thing I want is for a coach to think they're getting this super talented, super dedicated, really good work ethic player if maybe, like I was, maybe you're a little immature and kind of a bit shy and there's certain things you need to work on. I want them to know, because I need to find the right coach who will protect you and bring those things out. But they're also going to talk to other people in the UK, people you might not really know, but they might say, oh, hey, Dan, have you seen this guy play? And he might go, oh, yeah, he throws his racket all the time, or he just swears, or he shouts at his mum. And the coach will be like, all right, okay, yeah, that's not for us. Or they might say, he runs every ball down. He's always got the best attitude, the best posture on court. He would be such a good team player. So even if there's no one in the crowd that you know who you think's watching you, there's always someone watching you. So just be good on court, have a good attitude, be positive. Do it so that if you're 6-love, 5-love down, if I was watching, I wouldn't have any clue that you were losing. And that's what coaches want to recruit. Because we can all, well, we can't all be super talented, but we can all be good team players. And a coach would much rather have someone who maybe is a level lower, but they bring a lot more to the team than someone who's ultra talented, might play one, but you never know what you're going to get. So you want to be that team player who they know they can develop and they know they can rely on. Social media, when they first start recruiting you, they're going to look, or they're going to get their players to look through all your social media platforms. So TikTok and Instagram, they're going to have a look at the pictures and they're going to see what you post. So just be mindful of the fact that what goes up on the social media is there for life. And if people see it and they don't like it, then it might make them think, just a quick snap decision of, that's not right for my team. So always be mindful of, okay, I want to be recruited and I want to get a job at some point in my life. So you've got to be wary of what you're putting online. Once they've looked over all of that, they're then going to think, wow, we really want this player. Please let us be able to get him through admissions. GCSE grades are excellent. He did well on the entrance exam. No problems. Let's offer him a scholarship. So that's kind of how it all works. It might take 1 week, or it might take 5 months for you to find the perfect place for you. Now, for the entrance exams, there's two. There's SAT or there's the ACT. If you're incredible at maths, the SAT makes more sense to do because half of it is maths and it goes from GCSE to A-level standard. If, like me, you can't do maths, but you are pretty good at reading and you were fast at reading and doing comprehension, then the ACT is a better exam. It's only 1/4 maths and 3/4 of English comprehension. And those exams will kind of determine if you can get through admissions and what academic money you can receive. This year coming, the test optional because all of them were being cancelled. But for August 2022 onwards, it becomes a very important exam again. Okay, so right now, we all know it's been an absolute nightmare. It's been the hardest placement year I've ever had in my life. And I'm just thankful that a lot of the coaches have good relationships with, so I could get things through a bit quicker. But the one big problem that we all have moving forward is the fact that the NCAA gave everyone a year back. So all of those seniors who were due to be graduating are not, and they're either staying at their university or they're transferring out into another team, which means if I'm a coach, I would much rather recruit someone who is 22 years old and they're coming in for a year and I know what I'm getting, than someone who's 18 and I know it's going to take them a year and a half to really kind of get used to it. there were also 70 tennis teams cut. Now, there's 1,000 tennis teams, so 70 isn't huge, but some of those 70 were actually very, very good tennis setups. So if you think we have fewer teams and we have more players in the mix, which makes it a lot more difficult for players who are incoming. Fall 2021 was very difficult. I think August 2022 will still be hard because it's the same problem, but a lot of players chose to stay on for August 2021 because you're a senior in March, it was suddenly taken away from you. So I think a lot of them were thinking, oh, well, I can't finish now. Like they couldn't wrap their head around it. So they all stayed on. I think by August 2022, a lot of those will have had a full year anyway. And 4 years in college is more than enough. Like by your fourth year, you're ready to move on. So August 2022 will be difficult, but then 23 and 24, although the problem is still there, it won't be as bad. So the way you can control it is this summer, making sure that if there are tournaments, scheduling a lot of tournaments, make sure you still enjoy it and it's fun, but schedule as many tournaments as you can and enjoy it, and know that you've got time to move that UTR up. The UTR will move rapidly. So it's not like the LTA rating where it takes ages to move. Like you can move your UTR up within 12 matches and get it to where it should have been if you'd been playing for this last year. So don't worry too much about catching up because you've got time. And when to start the process. So the first thing to think about is, am I sure 100% I want to go to America? Can we afford it? Can I find the right academics for my ability? Is the tennis going to be good enough? Once you've answered all those questions and you're like, yep, I know for sure that's what I want to do, the best time to start is right after GCSE exams. I actually have a few 2023s who have already begun because there's no exams and they want something to kind of work towards. The first big job you're going to do is the entrance exam. This is the big part, which is either going to help you get into a university if you're getting a full scholarship, or it's going to generate a lot of academic money. If you can get a good score on this entrance exam, it can save you $10,000. Like it's huge. So doing well in the entrance exam is critical to affordability and options for tennis. Because let's say a coach recruits you. I have two guys who are 6'6" this year, and I know they're probably going to start number 5 and 6 on some good teams. But because they're good academically, it means that the coach will be like, look, you're 6'6", so you're obviously going to be a late developer because you've got to get stronger and you've got to stop growing. So that first year, I can't give you a lot of athletic money because you're going to be 6. But I know that academically you're really good and you've done well in the SAT. So we can actually get you to be within your budget by giving you a big academic offer. So whenever I see a guy who has good academics, it makes it a lot easier because I know then we can really look at tennis levels where he plays number 1 all the way down to number 6. Because even if he's 6 and there's no athletic money, his academic scholarship will get him within the budget. So academics opens up tennis doors. So GCSEs are critical, and SAT, ACT as well. Normally we would look to do the SAT or ACT October, November, December of the GCSE year. Because a lot of my 2023s are beginning now, we're actually going to try and take the exam in June. If we do great on it, we set it aside and we just focus then on the tennis. Usually you'll do it twice. So getting it out of the way quickly before your A-levels start getting a bit more involved and you really start competing a lot is a lot better for you kind of building your profile. In the March of your year 12, you'll then look to do the video, and that's when we start contacting coaches. The summer of your of year 12, so the June, July, is the most critical point to your placement, because that's when college coaches will come over and they'll watch you play. So that's a really good time to make sure that you're competing and you're playing the UTR events or the ITFs or the British Tours all around the London area. So none of my talks have been of this is what Tennis Smart do and you've got to come and sign with us. It's more about just making sure that you're aware of the 4 pathways. But to give you a glimpse of Tennis Smart, when someone joins us, you have access to a private account, and it has help guides for everything. How to talk to college coaches, like what questions to ask. If you get to go on a college visit, how to behave, what questions to ask, what's it all about, how to fill out a CV template. So you'll have all of these step-by-step guides, and then you'll have me attached to my BlackBerry, basically. And we'll do a lot of daily chats, especially when we're in the stage of talking to college coaches. All right, I'm nearly done. This was huge before COVID. Me and Barry Fulcher, we wanted to help players with tutoring. It was one of those things, it's a bit like sports psychology, where I really should have done sports psychology when I was on the tour. It was something I was lacking and it would have helped. But it's one of those things you like, it's an added cost, or I can't really afford it. So not many people get tutoring on the SAT or ACT, even though we know that it actually could save you $10,000 to $15,000. But tutoring can sometimes cost about £100 an hour. And so it's a balance. So we've thrown together these tutoring camps where you will come to us for the full weekend. You get 4 hours of tutoring in either the SAT or the ACT on the Saturday, and 4 hours of tennis. But it's 2 hour slots for each. So 2 hours of tutoring, then you got 2 hours on court, blow off steam, and then back to the tutoring, and then back to the tennis. On that Saturday as well, we'll have presentations from a British and American university coach, someone in the tennis industry, and then a former British and American university student athlete. You can do a Q&A with them and ask them anything. So a lot of players, I guess I'm getting old now, so a lot of players don't feel comfortable maybe asking me about the social life of things, but talking to Julian Cash, who's just graduated, they're more keen to be like, oh, tell me, other than the tennis and academics, tell me what it's like. So you can talk to them. On the Sunday, we do team event where it's literally like a college style dual match, loud music, the national anthem. We expect you to be very loud, very rowdy, put you in teams, and you play 2 singles and a doubles match together. So they're really, really good weekends. The feedback's been great. And we're going to expand it to do different themes. So there'll be the tutoring weekends. There'll be strength and conditioning and movement with Matt Little, Andy Murray's trainer. There'll be double specialism with Johnny Marray. There'll be sports psychology with Richard D'Souza. So just look out for these camps because they're a lot of fun. We're all really laid back. We're not judging you. So you can have loads of fun with your friends, but you can learn a lot of good information. And me and Barry are putting together the schedule now, hopefully beginning May and moving once a month, we'll offer a camp. Important websites, obviously mine is good to look at if you want to see the camps and everything. myutr.com is where you can put in your information and see where you're at. itatennis.com is the college website. It's a lot better now. They have a new guy there, and the blogs and the videos. You can probably see the video I was trying to show you. So loads of good videos, loads of good content. Just give you an idea of what to expect. And that's it. I had 3 outbursts of coughing, but made it through.
Sarah, that's absolutely awesome. Thank you so much for giving us a really, really good insight into life at an American uni. Certainly, I've been sat here taking notes, and I'm about to ring my bank manager, I think, in the morning and get those stocks and shares invested in to raise some funds. But no, honestly, I think all the members will find that really useful. And moving forward, I'm sure you'll hear from some of us in the future. Certainly, it's acted as a great motivator, I think, for everyone on the countdown to getting back to court. It's probably just what we needed. So, if I think because of the time, if people have got questions that they've sat there thinking of, I suggest if they maybe email myself and then I can get back in touch with you and we can give a generic response. That would be really useful. Quick question there. What grades do you need to get any sort of academic scholarship?
Ideally, you want to be 5 or higher. So if you're 7s, 8s, and 9s, then that's great. But if you have 5s or higher, then it'll generate some good academic money.
Right. Thank you so much, everyone, for their attendance as well. And likewise, if you email me your questions, I'll get back in touch with Sarah and get a response to you. But Sarah, thank you so much for your time.
And then if they want to contact me directly, that's totally fine as well. Especially if it's an academic question, you think, oh gosh, I'm not done the social science. What do I do? Then I'm always happy to put you on the right track, and then you don't have any hiccups later on.
Brilliant. Well, again, thank you to everyone for attending tonight. If you've got any other questions, feel free to see if you can hang around before the Zoom cuts off. If not, I think we'll say good night and get a welcome drink or some food. Thank you.
Thank you.